Dementia. Wow. We have spoken about this in part one, saying the possible causes of it as a result of one's childhood trauma. In this one, part two, it's how to prevent getting dementia that could have been caused by childhood trauma. So this is the prevention. So let's have a sip. What exactly do I mean by sip? Hi everyone, I'm Toyin Okunuga. I'm your self-realization mindset expert. Thanks again for joining me in this very important topic. So today it's how to prevent getting dementia that could have been caused by childhood trauma. Now you might be thinking, what do I know about dementia? So I've done a lot of research into it. I've studied some courses in psychology, but also my own childhood experiences made me hone in to what causes dementia and what I can do for me if I had any tendencies of getting dementia. And that was a whole rigmarole of why I sort of like had a deep dive into the preventions of dementia. Now, I'm not medical. This is my research. It's academic. It's thorough research and my own experiences. So let's go. I'm going to talk about loneliness. So loneliness, it's a big thing. Loneliness, 1.4 million older people in the UK are often lonely. And loneliness is a major issue that is now widely recognized in society today. So why loneliness? Why dementia? So dementia is sort of, as I explained, you check my other video, what I talked about in terms of why the brain, what actually happens to the functionality and the structural elements of the brain cells. So check that video to see why. So loneliness can happen, or does happen anyway, to anyone and to a lot of people. And when you have gone through adverse experiences, you have a tendency to withdraw. I know I withdrew from a lot of people, and that can lead one to being isolated. And when you get isolated, you feel that the world is against you. You feel you're against yourself. You feel the people are against you. And so you're sort of like getting into your own little circle of your own negative rumination of your own little world. So loneliness is a key element that we need to work upon to prevent any form of dementia, because when you go through adverse experiences like I did, specifically when it's to do with family members, you might even be within family members and have a big party, everyone's having fun, but your brain is just not in there. And that's how I felt sometimes when I was growing up. I would be at parties and I'd be pretending to smile, but my brain was actually not doing very well. My heart was broken, and it's all to do with your heart and your mind, the brain and the mind, how they work together. So this is what eventually, as I said, the sapping or the depletion of dopamine is what causes the dementia. Again, watch my other video. So this is how we can prevent it. So I said loneliness is a big issue. In fact, in the UK, we have a loneliness minister. Actually, yes, we have a loneliness minister. That's to show you the extent of how this is a big issue. And eventually, if you're lonely, obviously, and you're not working your brain and you're just within yourself, this is what causes unhappiness. Yeah, childhood trauma. This is all what it deals with. So what am I saying about, let's take a sip. SIP, social interaction pill. SIP. SIP is what we need to have. A healthy SIP to make sure that we prevent any adverse effect on our brain that could result in us getting dementia. It's a huge thing here. It sounds very simplistic, that dementia that is so huge. How can something so little contribute to it being a preventative method? I tell you, I kid you not, when your heart has been broken, the way mine was as a child when I was sexually abused, and if you have gone through, or the loss of someone as well, you can't take a pharmaceutical pill to heal that pain. It might numb it. I tell you, it won't heal the pain. That social interaction pill is what you need. Now, I'm going to just say a healthy relationship is what will heal your heart. That's what healed my heart, still healing my heart. And as I said, I emphasize the adjective healthy, because why? The unhealthy relationships that you keep could just as be as bad for you as being lonely on your own. So be careful and make sure that the relationships you have, they're not a disease to please relationship. Otherwise, you're still going down the route of dementia, where your brain is not, you're not happy, you're not doing things. So social interaction pill is what, number one, you have to have the feel, the touch, the hugging is so important. Just, being people who empathize with you, and just making sure that you interact. So another way, how can you interact when you've gone through that adverse experience and you're still feeling it? Sometimes you don't even know that's it, but when you start talking, volunteer within your community. I do that a lot. And that is another part of how you can socially interact. Read. I emphasize read. Why? Because this will keep your brain active, but that seems like, yeah, we know that. But also it brings the process of neurogenesis into play. Now, what is neurogenesis? Neurogenesis plays a critical role in neuroplasticity. That is the brain homeostasis, where it maintains the central nervous system and is crucial in preserving the cognitive function and repair of damaged brain cells that are affected by aging, but also brain disorders. And remember, I said that what happens to us physically in another video and what happens to us emotionally have the same effect on our brain. So that childhood experience that you had, which was adverse, like me when I was sexually abused, when I was moved from family to family, my heart, the same function and the structural elements that were being damaged mirror exactly the same way the physical ailment or physical damage to the brain does. So it's exactly in some areas the same. So that is why neurogenesis, you have to sort of like read, and while you're reading, you can form is still within the SIP. You can call people, call a friend, or even if you're not close, you can speak to people around you and say, oh, let's have a book club, or let's get around twice a week. I know people are busy, but it's being intentional about your own healing. And I'm very intentional now. Sometimes I slip, we all slip, but I get back up again, say, Toyin, you've slipped, get back up, remember. So, and read all kinds of books. I read so that neurogenesis, because when you're reading something new, it wires and fires new neurons in your brain. So as I said, childhood trauma has affected you deeply. So you need to wake those brain cells up so that you are interacting, so with your brain and with the books and different books and call people. You can even have an exchange. I have a friend who has just 6 of them, have a book club. And that's something I'm looking into doing now, so that we can discuss the books whilst we're helping our brain and talking, and that would help prevent dementia. So an area that I also worked upon when I was writing my memoir, Hush to Roar. Get your Hush to Roar, Amazon. It's also Nigeria. Please get your copy. You'll see why I'm talking about this so deeply. So I wrote my book in 2020. And it was, as I said, an uproar because of the sexual abuse and the person I mentioned in my book who abused me, a very close family member, you know who, and all my whole story, everything, but in depth in the book. It's more than what I'm telling you on here. So because of all that, I was really down. It was a lot. I was happy, but it was draining me mentally. So what did I have to do? I took a bold step. I mean, there was an engagement in Nigeria, even though it was during the pandemic, and in just the year after, I went to Nigeria and I had fun. I met with my friends, my family, some of them that I'm still talking to, and I just felt so relieved. Why? Because I needed a sip. I needed the social interaction pill, and that was a greatest healer. Because I said, when your heart is broken, pharmaceutical pills do not heal you. You have to interact. In fact, I actually had an interview with a person who sexually abused me. If you're that bold, I had to be bold. I had to ask questions, but I had to get to a resolution where I stopped asking why and asking that I did ask why when I didn't get it. I knew I wasn't going to get it. What I did do was I knew I just needed to heal. I needed to heal, not get my questions answered. So interaction, I went to the highest height by interviewing people like my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters, everyone, because I needed to know. But you don't need to go that far, but within your community, just keep interacting. And it's a big deal when you've got childhood trauma and you're keeping it within you, and as you're growing, obviously it's an age thing when it comes to dementia. If you're not sharing your story, you're still keeping it within yourself, it becomes shame within your bones. Now, what is the next thing, which is part of SIP? It's becoming shame resilient. I had to become shame resilient to share my story. That's how you can prevent having dementia, because you are getting all the things that you have neuro chaos in your head, you are getting it out. That's why I say you prevent dementia, because you get all the chaos out of your head out here. And shame resilient was what I had to do. How did I even do that? I had to have a mentor. My virtual mentor is Brené Brown. She is my shame resilient mentor. I've read most of her books. I listened to her before I came up and shared my story. I had in-depth mentoring from her and other people alike. But Brené Brown, she's my main mentor. So you develop that by recognizing, naming, and understanding the shame triggers. So I'm not going to go into what shame resilience is, but maybe in the part 3, that's what I'll deal with, to say how you can come out and don't own people's shame. The sexual abuse that I encountered was not my fault, and it's not your fault, or the loss of someone, but you just need to come out and speak. Share your story once you are ready, and then identify those factors, the feeling of shame, and just breathe. Start to do the inner work. Yeah, the inner work has to be done before you come out and then speak the shame, and you will heal and prevent yourself from getting that dementia that I know, if it's to do with childhood trauma, most of it is to do with shame. So as I said, just a few notes on that shame resilience, because actually I did a little research some weeks back, and there was a lady, her name was Mary. She had dementia, but she wouldn't let, and she'd lost her memory. She was in a residential home. She wouldn't let anyone touch her. And of course, she wasn't having a wash every day, and they were struggling, and there was a lot of concern. So they actually had to reach out to her family to say, Mary's not letting anyone touch or let her be washed or anything, And her family said she was sexually abused, and she's never told anyone apart from family. So she had dementia. She's been carrying that shame all her life. She was 85. No one could touch her. Obviously, the triggers were there. That's why you need to heal from that shame. She had dementia now. I'm not saying that's the main reason that caused it, but I'm saying that if she had shared her story growing up, she would be out a little bit more. And perhaps that is because a lot of my research, when I read it, there were loads of sort of like scenarios and case studies based on people having dementia who had gone through adverse childhood experience. The percentage was very high. So to prevent it, you have to share your story. You have to give back the shame to whoever has done something to you, or if it's the loss of one, you have to go through my Sarah G model, which is in another video. See what the acronym stands for, and you need to heal holistically, and your brain we'll be getting back to a repair. As I said, neurogenesis, it happens in adults. Our brain is not fixed. We wire and fire new neurons every day. So that's it from me today. Thank you for joining me, guys. And I'll say, yes, that's how we can prevent the type of dementia that is caused mainly by childhood experiences that are adverse. Thank you for joining me, and thank you, my darlings. Thanks for your comments. Keep interacting with me about the social interactions. Thank you, Adikemi, my darling Udwak Prof. Yes, and wow, my warrior. Thank you very much for staying and commenting. And yes, as I said, the courses, there are a lot more courses. Thank you, warrior, for saying that, to do with metal when it comes to the brain. But that was I was speaking more about the childhood experiences as opposed to the physical elements that could cause dementia. But thank you. I appreciate your comments. Please keep commenting. Let's have this dialogue so that we can stop these adverse childhood experiences, because as we know, there is no cure for dementia. So prevention is is our best chance. Thank you, guys. And I love you. Remember, your inner child, it has a voice. Bring it out and let it roar. Thank you.